Hi! To all my followers, I'm so glad you're back. And to all my new viewers, welcome and I hope you'll stick around. I think I should have made this video sooner, taking into consideration how many people were interested in watching me unbox my new old Zinger. But finally, here it comes. The comparison of my sewing machines. And I have quite a collection. In this video I will show 4 of them because I don't have all of my sewing machines here with me, but I will definitely plan to show you all of them once I have a chance. I started collecting sewing machines a few years ago, and back then I would never call it collecting. But since I already own more than 4, I think it's high time to start calling it a sewing machine addiction. All of my machines are unique in their own way, and I don't know about you, but I'm interested in learning more about their differences. All 4 machines were made in different times, which means the technological advancements will clearly be visible. In this video, I will guide you through their working mechanisms, advantages, and flaws. If you're interested in buying a sewing machine, you will definitely find this video useful.
This is Joan's serpentine sewing machine from around the 1880s. It's my oldest sewing machine and most decorative. She was restored from a really poor condition, brought back to life, fully functional and working as new. However, it's also my most problematic machine. The second machine which I use the most is an 1896 Zinger treadle machine. If you've seen my other videos, you will probably recognize her. It's definitely my favorite sewing machine, as she's easy to use, easy to thread, and gives me a real feel of the Victorian sewing experience. She does require a lot of space since she comes with a table, but it's definitely worth it. She's beautifully decorated and comes with many functional accessories, plus spare bobbins. The gold decorations are almost intact, and getting the Sphinx version of Zinger was on my list for a long time. The third sewing machine is my first Zinger, and she was a thoughtful gift which gives her a sentimental value. It dates back to the 1950s and it's very easy to thread. The mechanism is surprisingly smooth when well oiled, and I'm pretty sure this machine would survive an apocalypse. She can go through any type of fabric, even leather, and she's in a very good condition. Probably my least problematic machine. Lastly, this is Bernina 325. We don't like each other very much. She's a know-it-all. But I have to admit that she speeds up work when it's needed and has so many functions that even though I have her for 3 years, I don't know most of them. Quite embarrassing, I know, but she comes with a manual that includes all of that, plus sewing tips, which I'm sure would be helpful for many. Threading this machine is not straightforward. It's not the top thread that is problematic, but the bottom thread. Threading the shuttle requires patience and precision. Even winding the bobbin seems complicated. When I got the machine, she was already threaded, but I did research to gain more information. If you make a mistake with even one step of the process, the machine will refuse to sew, or it will rip every thread. That's probably why I don't use her often. It's also worth mentioning that the wheel doesn't always turn smoothly and the machine moves on the table. Then you have to hold her in place with one hand and turn the wheel with another, which means the stitch might be uneven. However, on the plus side, the stitch is very beautiful and short, which also ensures its strength. But definitely I would not recommend using her for longer projects unless you have a lot of time. This actually took me a few takes to record as my hands were getting in the way. The bobbin is so tiny that it can easily slip out. The silk thread is also quite slippery, so that was a tricky combination. Another issue that I have with this machine is that the bobbin winding wheel is so worn out that it only works occasionally. I'm not sure if I would be able to find a replacement, but I might soon be forced to do so. Although maybe I could try winding the bobbin on the 1896 Singer. As you can see, putting the bobbin back is not an easy task. I could have probably used tweezers, but why would I make my life easier? This is a whole Jones experience. Now, let's listen to the sound together. Jones is also Bunny approved, so that definitely gives her some bonus points. Threading my 1896 Singer is so easy that I actually love doing it. I have never had any issues with this machine and it serves me so well. I had to do some maintenance when I got her, considering the fact that she has been standing unused for a very long time, but since then she works like new. Compared to Jones, threading the shuttle is so uncomplicated that it literally takes seconds. In order to show you exactly how it's done, I'm doing it slower, but once you know what to do, it becomes fast and automatic. I love the rhythm of the treadle and the sound of this machine. She's not as loud as Jones or Bernina, and I could sew on her for the whole day. The bobbin and the bobbin winding mechanism are very similar to the ones seen in Jones, although much easier to operate. And the wheel is not worn out, so it works perfectly. I've never seen this type of bobbin winding before, and I was amazed by how the little arm moves to distribute the thread evenly. Also, with every machine, I absolutely had to record how the top thread takes up the bottom thread. I think it's fascinating how in the older machines it seems to loop around the shuttle. Every time I look at this machine and at the stitches that she produces, it's like I admire her for the first time. It always amazes me that I have this piece of history in my home that is, after all, a part of a very modern world. Threading my 1950s Zinger is as easy as it gets. You don't have the shuttle that was so common in the 19th century machines, but instead we see an old-fashioned version of the modern bobbin. It's actually even easier to thread than my Bernina. What I also like about this machine is that she can sew backwards. That's actually great because it allows you to secure the seam without having to tie the end threads or use a needle to sew a back stitch. The mechanism of this machine is also so smooth that you barely put any effort into turning the wheel. I don't even have to oil it often. I would definitely recommend this machine to anyone who wants to start their historical sewing journey but doesn't have much experience with sewing machines. Lastly, Bernina. I could actually imagine a person named like that. Anyways, as I said before, she's not really my type of machine. Very modern, electric, fast. I got her when I was studying because I didn't have any other efficient machine at the time. She did a good job, although she would sometimes refuse to sew with some types of threads, the more delicate ones, like silk or linen. Even though she's the newest out of all my machines, surprisingly, threading her is not as easy as threading my Zingers. There are numbers and arrows as guides, but I suppose that without them, it might not be an intuitive task. You can see that apart from the bobbin, we also have a bobbin case. Even though it's round, the idea is similar to the shuttle. Of course, it doesn't revolve like the shuttle, but we have two separate elements, unlike with the 1950s Zinger. With Bernina, we have a shift of the bobbin to the side of the machine. It actually makes it more uncomfortable to take out and put in, so I'm not a fan of this arrangement. I decided to do thread tests on all machines to see if they can handle different types of threads. Silk and linen will be the ones shown on the video because I know that none of my machines have a problem with cotton. I used cotton when threading some of the machines, but silk and linen have proved problematic in the past, with many threads ripped or tangled. The first to go is Jones and silk. Since silk was one of the most common threads used in the 19th century, I would expect this machine to be perfect for it. However, the first attempt wasn't successful. I decided to give her another chance, after of course adjusting the tension. This time it went well and the result was beautiful. I truly adore those tiny stitches. With linen, I could expect the result but wanted to show you anyway. It might be because the thread is thicker, but it always ends up ripped. So here Jones failed to pass the test. Second in line, my beautiful Zinger. It did so well with both threads, I didn't have to adjust the tension or struggle at all. There is one thing I should mention about linen though. I do not recommend using it with any machines excessively because it can fray and release some fibers inside the machine. This would be difficult to clean and could clog the mechanisms. Of course, it's possible for any thread to get stuck inside the sewing machine, but other types of threads are smoother and less prone to breaking. As I mentioned before, this machine is easygoing. She works so smoothly that it's probably my most quiet machine. I didn't have any doubts that she would work with any type of thread or material. She passed both the silk and the linen tests, and I will also show you how she goes through leather like it's butter. Lastly, Bernina. You will be surprised to see the results because it actually did worse than my Zingers. It coped well with silk, but struggled in some places with linen. It might be okay in the short run, but for longer sewing it usually rips the thread from time to time, which is quite annoying. For all these trials, I used a normal bottom thread, like cotton, but some machines might also struggle with linen as the bottom thread. I lined all samples so that you can compare them yourself, but for me, Jones stands out the most with her tiny stitches. The rest is quite similar, although you could see the difference especially in how they dealt with linen. Of course, a thorough bunny inspection was carried out to make sure everything is in order. I think it's safe to say that there were no complaints and we're good to go.
As you can see, every sewing machine is unique in its own way, and it's hard to say which one is the best. I think it all depends on personal preferences, and I find the Zinger treadle sewing machine most suited to my needs. It definitely makes me feel like I'm transported in time. If you have any unanswered questions, please let me know in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this. I'll see you next time!